Welcome to Smart Research for HSC students. My name is Jane and I'm a librarian at the State Library. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We at the library pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. This is the third session in our series of Smart Research for HSC students. And if you've seen the first two sessions, you'll be aware of how to find the library's catalogue and e-resources on the website, how to choose the best database for your needs, and how to construct an effective search. After this session, you'll be able to use your research skills across different types of databases, recognising their similarities and differences. We'll look at common features like limiting your search results and using citation tools for your referencing. Just to note, databases are our main type of e-resource, but e-resources also includes ebooks. So when I say database, you'll know I mean an online resource that contains many articles from academic journals, magazines, newspapers and other publications. Now, databases are made by several different companies, so they don't all look the same, but most have similar features like an advanced search option, tools for limiting or refining your results, and citation tools for managing your references. These features might be called something slightly different, or they might be in a different position on the search page. But once you learn how to use the features, you should be able to recognise them in other databases. So let's look at a few different databases you can access with your State Library card. I'm going to access them mainly through our HSC Research Guides, which you may have already seen, as well as show you how to access the library's main e-resources homepage. So from the library website, we're going to use this menu in the top right corner. And underneath Research and Collections, you can see e-resources and research guides. We'll have a quick look at the e-resources, but then we'll be using only the research guides. So this gives you some subject folders for different types of e-resources, and you can open these folders with a cross. You can see we've got an HSC folder here. Now for 5 of these subjects we have a research guide, and so it's much better to use a research guide. But for science, if you do extension science, you can click science and it will then generate a list of databases that are the best for extension science. They just come out alphabetically, not in order of the best ones. So you need to be sure to look past the first page. And similarly, if you do other subjects like business, you may want to have a look in for databases in these folders. Okay, we're going to go back to the home page, and now we're going to go to the HSC Research Guides. So again, we go menu, and just underneath the e-resources, we've got research guides. You can see that under HSC, we've got 5 subjects. So these are a one-stop shop for all your research needs. They're the best way to access databases, the library catalogue and other resources for English, ancient history, modern history, legal studies and society and culture. Note also under health, we've got a guide on drug and alcohol information for PDHPE students, so that's worth a look too. Now I'm going to open the modern history guide and I'm going to open the society and culture guide. So each research guide is structured the same, so you'll navigate them in the same way. You look in the grey box on the left here, and some of them have sub-pages. And each of these is going to have a different page with resources. And the first page on e-resources gives you some introduction about what an e-resource is. And it also gives you some search tips, which is really handy. So first of all, let's look at a couple of databases. So I'm going to look first at a large international database called ProQuest Research Library. I have a social science sort of topic, so I'm going to use the Society and Culture Research Guide, and I'm going to look under international journal articles. And there's a bit of explanation about these resources, and then we've got several. And here's ProQuest Research Library. The first time you click on a database, if you're at home, it's going to ask for your library card number and then it will open just like this. So just to recap, most databases have an advanced search page, and this is the best option because it helps you construct your search. It adds the "and" here, so you can combine two or more terms as you like. Now, my topic's about toxic masculinity, particularly in education. So I'm going to try toxic masculinity and education. So in my results, I've got a range of different types of publications. So some look like journals, others look like news services, popular news sites. So I'd be having a close look through to see which ones are relevant to my topic. So first I'll have a look at this first one, the fight against toxic masculinity, and it's in the Chronicle of Higher Education. So first I might want to check the abstract and details. That's because they often include, as well as the abstract, some subject headings here. And these are like hashtags in the database. They're how the database describes the topic of this particular article. So they're useful for gathering other search terms for your topic. And you can see there's some like masculinity, sex crimes, college students. So now I've got the full text of the article here. I can read it on the screen. I can use Control-Find to search for keywords. I've also got related suggestions here, so some of those might be relevant. The database gives you these suggestions. And now if I like this article, I can download it as a PDF to make it easier to use. Let's have a look at what other tools we have up here in the top right. So one of the most important is the citation tool. So it just says cite. You'll need this. It creates a citation for you, and you'll need this for your bibliography and in-text referencing. So you can choose your preferred style, check with your teacher if you're unsure which style you should be using, and you can then copy and paste that reference and paste it into the document where you're keeping track of your research, so you can easily find it again if you want to come back to it, or put it in your bibliography. Okay, let's go back to my results. Now, as I go, I can select articles that I'm interested in by ticking them like this. So I was interested in that one. The database is going to hold on to those articles for me while I do some further searches or whatever I want to do. So I can pop some others in, and it's going to hold them for me in a folder. Let's look at some other tools then. So on the left-hand side, we've got some tools for limiting. Now this, some databases say the word refine, limit or refine. So this means narrow down or limit your results to make them more relevant for your topic, because there's going to be some articles that aren't as relevant. So there's a few things we can do here. One of them is the date. So we could make it more recent if we want by dragging this later there. And it's going to remove anything published before 2000. So it's reduced the number a little bit, but most of these are quite recent, which is not surprising for this topic. Now, another very useful thing is the source type. So this tells you what type of publication the article is coming from. So we've got scholarly journals, which is the main one here. And so this means academic journals. Some databases will use the word academic. This one uses scholarly. So that means that academic journals, they're not trade journals, magazines, or newspapers. So that can be really useful. I can just click on that and see only the results from academic journals. So you'll see my first article has disappeared, but it will still be in my folder. So I'll be able to look at it later when I come back to my folder. So let's see, I'm going to add some more to my folder. I don't have time to look at them now, but we've got Canadian Journal of Education. That sounds really good. And let's just add a couple of others. Now, suppose I would like to have a look at my folder now. There's usually a couple of places you can find it. It's often up the top, and there you see it's got 5 items in it, and it's also here. So if I click on that, we can see what I have in my folder. Now, after I've done some more searches, I might decide to remove some of those ones, but if I want to then keep a permanent record, I can use the Cite button, again with that little quotation sign. And this particular database lets you cite them all at once. So there's all 5 articles, so I can actually select them all at once, copy and paste. Or if you want, you can email them to yourself. There's several things you can do to make it easy. All right, so let's see what else we can do. You might notice that some articles are not available in full text. This one, number 2, it's got details but no full text. And that's because it's a fairly recent publication, late last year. So the journal publishers generally have an agreement not to release the full text often for a year. So that means, unfortunately, you can't read that particular article in full. You can read the details. There is the option to limit to full text only, so that will remove articles like this. However, it's good to have a look first. I like to have a look first before removing things. The other option here is peer reviewed. So what that means is the highest level of academic journal. So it means that the article is assessed by peers who are expert in the area before they agree to publish it in the journal. And many academic journals are peer reviewed. So I've got 650 results. If I click on peer reviewed, I've now got 619. So the vast majority are peer reviewed. All right, so that's ProQuest Research Library, a very useful database for many subjects because it is multidisciplinary. It covers a lot of subjects. All right, now I'm going to have a look at a database called Jstor, and I'm going to use the Modern History Guide for that because it's very useful for history. So you can see the Modern History Guide looks very similar to the Society and Culture Guide. However, it has some slightly different titles for these sub-pages, which reflects what's important for that subject area. So I'm going to look under journal articles, and Jstor is the first one here. Now, Jstor is a very large journal archive of scholarly journals, and it dates back to the 1700s and up till now. And it's good for many subjects: history, English, society and culture, and even science. So it gives you some hints here. I'm going to open that one. And it's very important to use the advanced search here because you can't see any of the options with this simple search screen here. So again, I've got my advanced fields to fill in. I'm going to do a search about the causes of the Korean War. Now you'll notice that this database looks quite different to the last one we looked at, so it is set out differently. And I'm going to look at the causes of the Korean War. You have noticed I put quotation marks around Korean War. That's called a phrase search, and it's going to hold those 2 words together in a phrase. And that particular tool is mentioned in the search tips in all the research guides, so you can read further about how to do that. All right, and I'm also going to tick articles because this database has quite a lot of book reviews and other things as well. Okay, I've got over 5,000 results. Now I'm just going to have a look at the first one because it sounds quite good, the Korean War Revisited. So here's the full record and a little bit about the journal that it's in. From here, I've got my citation tool, cite this item. Jstor only gives us the 3 different styles, so you've got to choose the best one for you and again, copy and paste. You can look at the article here, but it's much easier to download the PDF. It's easier to read. And there it is. So I can read it, and then I can also use Control Find to search for something I'm looking for, say President Truman, so I can see where he's mentioned or if he's mentioned. So that's really quite handy to be able to do go back to my search results now, or to my article. So I can save this into my workspace. I have a workspace, so that's like putting it in a folder in the last database. And so you can either do it from that page or you can do it from your results list as well. So let's say I want to add this one. It's going to say save to my workspace. Now, normally I would spend more time looking at my results. I go through the whole first page and onto the second page as well, but we don't have time to look at them, so I've just added a few more. Now, when you want to view your workspace, you can either click on the saved one, or up the top we've got tools, and there's your workspace. Okay, so I can select them all if I want. Now, the easiest thing to do is email them to yourself like that, or you can cite the individual articles, especially if you decide to delete some of the other ones. You can't use this cite button because it's only for using bibliographic software, which is generally done at university level. But you can email or cite the individual articles. Let's go back. Now, you can also apply to have a permanent workspace. You just create a free login, and that means that Jstor will save the results that you've saved in the workspace forever. So that could be quite useful if you're doing a lot of searching on Jstor. Say if you do extension English and a history subject, I would definitely do that. Okay, let's look at some other tools. So on the left here, we've got refine results. So this is the same as ProQuest Research Library limit results. Here we're going to narrow them down to make them more relevant. So again, we've got the publication date. So I could make that 1990 to 2020. And so it's around about halved my results. Because this is a historical database, you will see there are some very old resources in there. So early 20th century, late 19th century. So depending on what you're doing, you may want to remove older results. Unless you're doing history and you're looking at historiography, you might want to look at articles from a particular time. Now you'll notice the academic content, this is actually all academic journal articles, so you don't have to do any choosing of the source type like the last database, because this only contains academic articles. You can also search within results. So basically this is like adding another search term, so adding 3 search terms. So I could add Truman in here to find only the articles in my results that mention President Truman. Okay, so that's Jstor, a very useful database for many subjects. So I'm going to finish by looking at a database for newspaper and media articles. It's called Australia New Zealand Reference Centre. So I'm going to go back to the Society and Culture homepage, and it's got a separate page just for newspapers and media, because this is very useful in society and culture. Australia New Zealand Reference Centre, as the name suggests, contains mainly Australian and New Zealand articles from newspapers, news services like radio, magazines, and some academic journals as well. So it's really good for looking at how a topic is being covered in the media at the present time, or at a particular period of time you choose in the last 15 to 20 years. So let's click on that one. So again, you can see it looks quite different to the last 2 databases, because all 3 of these are made by different companies. So I'm going to choose the advanced search, and I want to get some articles about music festivals and drugs. So quite a topical recent issue. So I'm going to try music festivals, and I'm particularly interested in pill testing at music festivals. Okay, and this database gives us a little icon for what type of resource it is. So you can see many of these are from newspapers, the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, They're also from Newswires. So a Newswire is a news agency that gathers news reports and then sells them to radio, etc. So that's always breaking news. And you can see we've got ABC News here, which would be used in all ABC formats. And we've also got one magazine here, a periodical, so that's a magazine. All right, let's have a look at the first result from the Sydney Morning Herald. So you can see there's not a lot more information, unlike the academic articles we were looking at in the last two databases. So we'll have a look at the full text here. So note it tells us that this is from the opinion section. So this is someone, a doctor, saying why I quit the AMA over pill testing hypocrisy, from the opinion section. And there it is. So I have got my same sort of tools here on the right. This one calls it add to folder. That means it's going to keep it for me, pop it in a folder. And we've got our citation tool here. So again, we've got a range of styles, so you can choose the one that you're using. Remember to be consistent and choose the same style all the time. You don't want to be swapping styles. So I can then copy and paste that citation. I've got that in my folder. I'm going to go back to my result list. So let's have a look at the magazine article from Eureka Street. So this is a fairly academic sort of a magazine. And you can see we've got more information here. We've got these subject headings like we saw in ProQuest Research Library, which could give us ideas for further searches on this topic. So we've got drug control, for instance, and music festivals. So then I'm going to look at the full text, which is a PDF, so it's likely to be a coloured full text from the magazine. And there it is. So if I like this article, I can download the PDF from there. Or I'm going to pop it in my folder. I can do that from here as well, or from the full text. I might then put another couple of articles in there. So that's an ABC News article about the ambulance union. All right, let us see what refining we can do on the left here. So refine results. Again, we've got date. So this is all fairly recent, but I might want to make it even more recent. So I could make it to say 2015 to 2020. So we know these are quite recent, and you can see the options I choose then pop up in this box so that you know you're doing that. When it comes to source types, we can see the majority are newspapers. So some are international and some are domestic. So I could click on the domestic newspapers, which is the majority. And then I could also, if I'm interested in particular publications, I can open that publication option and you can see where most of the articles come from. So if I'm looking at just Canberra or just Newcastle, for instance, I can then click that to find only the articles in the Newcastle Herald, for instance. If you then want to change something, like look at a different area or publication, you do need to remove that before you add something else. So just keep track of what you're doing there. Most of these are full text, but again, you've got the full text option and the peer reviewed option, although very few of these, being newspaper articles, are going to be peer reviewed. All right, let's have a look in my folder. So my folder's up here, or it's on the side here. There's a couple of options. So I've got 3 in my folder. I can select them all, or I can delete any that I decide I don't want. The best way is to email them to yourself, or you can go and get the individual citation from an individual article as you need. So I hope you can see that these are really useful features and tools that can be found in most databases, and that you now know how to recognise them, because they do look a little different in each database. So to recap, don't forget to look closely at our HSC Research Guides and look through all the pages and other databases and resources mentioned in here. We have ebooks, we have websites, etc. Because I've only been able to show you a very small sample. It's always good practice to try searching across several databases for articles on your topic, because sometimes one database will be great for one topic and not as good for another. So you do need to try a few. And you should always do more than one search, so trying different search terms and then saving articles as you go, because you may find different results as you change your search terms. So I'm going to remind you how to find those research guides. When we're on the library's homepage, we go menu in the top right, and underneath research and collections, we've got research guides. So I recommend to bookmark the research guides that are relevant for you, because they will take you to everything, including the library catalogue. So you don't need to go looking around the library's website, which is a very busy website. Everything in here is going to open from the research guide and open in a tab next to your guide. So your guide will stay open on the left and you can move into all the other resources from there. Now, if you need any help with researching your topic, you can come and visit us in the library on lower ground 2 of the Marie Bashir reading room. There's always a librarian you can ask for help. You can also chat with us online or phone us on weekdays. So the best way to find that through the menu again, if you go down a bit further, we've got Ask a Librarian. So we've got several Ask a Librarian services. So you can chat with us between 10 and 5 on weekdays, or you can call us between 10 and 5 on weekdays, or come and visit us in the reading room. Now, don't forget to check the other videos in our Smart Research series. They all discuss different research tools and tips and search skills, especially for HSC students. And thanks for watching, and good luck with your HSC research. Bye for now.